The North remembers. We know no king, but the king in the North whose name is Stark. I don't care if he's a bastard. Ned Stark's blood runs through his veins. He's my king, from this day until his last day.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 prediction video. Today I want to do something a little bit different. In this video, I want to give my own predictions for how I see the first episode playing out. So in today's video, I want to go over some of my own ideas and predictions for the first episode in the final season. I could be wrong, or I could be right about some of these things. Either way, I would like for you to comment down below and let me know what you think, and also let me know what you think will happen in the first episode. You also have to remember each episode might be around 90 minutes long, so a lot could still happen this season, even with only 6 episodes left. And just to keep in mind, these are all my own opinions. I do not claim any of this to be fact. And also keep in mind that I am not a writer. So if the way I structure this sounds like crap, just show me some mercy. But I have a few general ideas of how I think things are going to play out when the new season begins. When Season 8 Episode 1 begins, there are a few different ways I think they may start the season. Episode 1 might begin at Winterfell with Bran Stark. The last time we saw Bran Stark, he was at the Weirwood Tree in the Godswood, and he had sent out a murder of crows to go and keep an eye on the wall, because he most likely sensed something was about to happen. And of course, something did happen. The Night King attacked the wall with Viserion and brought it down, and now his entire army is marching south. So, the first episode may begin with Bran snapping out of his warging and realizing what the hell he just saw happen. Bran Stark will then let everyone at Winterfell know that Eastwatch by the Sea was destroyed, and the Night King is heading their way. Then I think either Bran or Sansa will send out as many ravens as possible to let everyone know that the Great War is officially here. They will need all of their banners to prepare for war, and I think this would be a really cool way to start off the season. But the first scene could also be at the wall. They have done something like this before in the past. They end one episode at a specific location, and then the next episode begins at that same location. So they could begin the season this way, by basically showing the aftermath at Eastwatch by the Sea. We should see the dust starting to settle, and hopefully we could get a scene of Tormund and Beric looking at the now destroyed wall, wondering what the hell they can do. I don't think Tormund and Beric are going to be able to climb down the wall at Eastwatch because the steps that were built into the side of the wall were destroyed. So unless they have some climbing gear stashed up there, they're going to have to walk along the top of the wall until they find a new place to get to the ground. There are some abandoned castles all along the entire wall, so they could potentially climb down at the next castle. But that all depends on how long it's been out of commission, because it may not be safe enough to get down there. And if that's the case, then they're going to have to walk along the top of the wall until they make it to Castle Black. And that's where they could ride the elevator down, and that's assuming the Night King doesn't stop there next and destroy it, but I don't think he will. I think the Night King is heading south to much bigger targets. Now, if for some reason they don't begin the season at either of these two locations, then I think the next safest bet would be at White Harbor. I think this would also be a good place to start the season because this is where Jon and Daenerys are going to land first and make their way to Winterfell. But this is also where the timeline gets a little bit tricky because the timeline jumps around so much and the pace of the show has picked up tremendously with the last season. So when Jon and Daenerys arrive at White Harbor, the word might already be out that the wall has fell, because the last scene in the finale was at the wall. So they may speed things up by having Jon and Daenerys find out when they arrive at White Harbor. And if they don't find out immediately, I still think Jon is going to find out the Night King is south of the wall before he gets to Winterfell. Worst case scenario is he will find out as he's heading north by land. But before I get into that, I want to talk about Jon and Daenerys' first scene together. I think there will be a scene with Jon, Dany, and Tyrion, or Jon and Tyrion, or even Dany and Tyrion. And the reason I say that is because I think Tyrion is going to want to express his concerns about Jon and Daenerys' newfound love for one another. Everyone remembers the look Tyrion had on his face when he knew Jon and Daenerys were getting together, so I think Tyrion may pull one of them to the side and discuss the potential problems this relationship could cause. Jon already knows how the other Northern Lords feel about the Targaryens, and it might not be a good idea to show up in Winterfell after being gone for several months by showing up holding hands with Daenerys. I think Jon and Daenerys are going to keep their relationship quiet, at least for the first episode. Jon could try and show up in Winterfell and tell everyone that he is in love with Daenerys in hopes that they will support their king and accept Daenerys immediately, but that could also backfire and cause a revolt and get Jon killed. So I think Jon will be hesitant about telling anyone about him and Daenerys, and once he finds out he is a Targaryen, that's really going to make things awkward. But it should make for a really great and intense scene. Anyways, Jon, Daenerys, Tyrion, and everyone else they are with will reach White Harbor in their first scene together. I'm not really sure if the news about the Night King is going to have made it to White Harbor yet, unless this scene takes place later into the episode. But considering Gendry could run to the wall and get word to Daenerys and Dragonstone all in the same episode, then all bets are off. News travels very fast these days. But let's move on to Cersei, because there is one scene that should have taken place in Season 7 that we did not see, but I think it's going to take place in Season 8, Episode 1. If you read the plot leak for Season 7, then you should know that it was about 99% accurate. And as far as I can remember, the only thing we did not see was Cersei having a miscarriage. But I think they're saving that to start off the final season for her character. Now I know some people have their own theories about this because I heard some people think she will give birth to a dwarf, or her baby will be the Valonqar and she will die during childbirth, but I disagree. I do think she's still going to have a miscarriage, and this is going to be the final act that sends Cersei into complete and total madness. After Jaime left Cersei, she may have still thought to herself that at least she still has this baby inside of her, because we all know that Cersei did truly love her kids, so being pregnant again gave her a new glimmer of hope for the future. But when she loses this baby and she no longer has Jaime around, Cersei's eyes will truly glow like wildfire, and her character will take going out in a blaze of glory to a whole new level. Speaking of Jaime, we should see him in the first episode as well. By the time we see him again, he should be many miles away from King's Landing as he makes his way north. I am pretty sure Jaime's going to run into some people along his way too. And he is going to be very nervous about someone finding out exactly who he is, which is why he covered up that golden hand as soon as he got outside of King's Landing. When we see Jaime again, it will probably be a scene of him being stopped by some people as he heads north, and he's going to be very nervous, but Jaime will most likely talk his way out of the bad situation. But I could also see Jaime trying to blend in with some people so he can make his way to Winterfell much easier. Pretty soon word is going to spread that the Night King has brought down the wall, and once the Starks send out word that they all need all of their banners, everyone is going to start to prepare for the war. So as Jaime heads north, he might cross paths with an army marching to Winterfell, and this is where Jaime could try and blend in with the men heading that way, which could secure him a safe way to get to Winterfell without being killed. Kinda like what Gendry did. Gendry hid in plain sight. He stayed right in King's Landing where he was wanted the most. So Jaime could kinda do the same thing by volunteering to go fight in the north. I won't be surprised if we see Jaime get his hands, or I should say hand, on a uniform that's usually worn by a northern soldier. And once he gets to Winterfell, that's where he can find Jon or Tyrion or even Brienne and let them know that he has left Cersei and joined their cause. I believe in the first episode we are also going to see Winterfell preparing its defenses. Photos already came out online that showed Winterfell ready for war, and we already saw them making armor in Season 7. And once the Dragonglass gets there, thousands of weapons will be made also. They will have guards watching the entire perimeter of the Winterfell property. That's at least until Jon and all the other forces arrive and devise their plan of attack. It's going to be interesting when Winterfell calls all of their banners, because this is when we could see some old characters come back into play. Edmure Tully is still out there somewhere, and Howland Reed is still out there somewhere too. And that little shit Robin Arryn is still alive. Speaking of loose ends, Yara Greyjoy still needs rescued as well, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to see at least one Greyjoy in the first episode, if not all of them. The only problem is I can't say exactly where Yara Greyjoy is at this point. She may be chained up on Euron's ship the Silence, or he may have her detained at the Iron Islands while he's out gallivanting around the world, picking up the Golden Company. So, in my opinion, I think there is only two ways Theon is going to be able to set her free. If Yara is on Euron's ship, Theon's going to need to save her before Euron gets the Golden Company, or else there is no way Theon and his small crew is going to be able to get her back off of his ship when he's surrounded by his own Ironborn men and 20,000 mercenaries. I think the easiest way for Theon to get her back would be for her to be locked up at the Iron Islands while Euron is getting the Golden Company. This would allow Theon to do a very similar rescue mission as Yara tried to do for him. Theon could show up in the middle of the night and hope that only a skeleton crew is guarding Yara, and if Theon and his men could breach the Iron Islands and get her back, this would set up for a bigger confrontation between Theon and Euron later into the season. If Yara would happen to be at the Iron Islands, then we could see Theon arriving there, or at least seeing the Iron Islands in the distance in the first episode. Then this scene could cut to Euron arriving in Essos, and we could finally get a good glimpse of the Golden Company preparing to come to Westeros, finally. But let's just say Yara is still on board the Silence with Euron. If that's the case, then I don't think Theon's gonna try and save her in the first episode, because I think that's too early for the Theon and Euron face-off just yet. Unless he was able to sneak on board and get her off without being spotted, but that seems very unlikely at this point. But since I mentioned Essos, I think there is also a very high chance we could see Melisandre and or Kinvara in the first episode also. Melisandre did tell Varys she was going to Volantis, but she said she would return. Considering Season 8 is the final season, she is going to have to show up in one of these 6 remaining episodes. So I won't be surprised if we get a scene in Volantis at the beginning of the season. Melisandre will need to put her final plan into action, and considering what she said to Varys before she left, it seems she may have something up her sleeve since she believes she will die when she comes back to Westeros. She may rally the Fiery Hand while she is in Volantis, and when they learn the Great War is here, we could see a true war of ice versus fire. Ice soldiers versus fire soldiers, but who knows. But before I ramble too long, let me tell you what I think the last scene will be in the first episode. I do have a feeling they will end the premiere episode with something pretty big. I think the episode will end with either Jon arriving in Winterfell and seeing Arya and Bran again for the first time since Season 1, or the first episode will end with the Night King making his first contact with something south of the Wall. I am pretty confident the Night King will strike the last hearth or Carhold first, and this would be a great way to end the first episode, by showing one of the northern castles getting obliterated by the Night King and his army. It's not going to be an all-out war in the first episode, it's just going to be a taste of what's to come, and it would put the North on high alert. The Night King is already adding more meat to his army, and he's heading your way next. But they may also want to end the premiere on a softer note, by having Jon finally reunite with his family before all hell breaks loose. I do have very high expectations for the Jon and Arya reunion, but the Jon and Bran reunion is going to send shockwaves across the 7 kingdoms. Everything that Jon thought he knew was a lie, and I can't wait to see the look on his face when he finds out he was never a bastard, but instead he was the true heir to the Iron Throne. But I am also dying to see how Daenerys reacts to this news also, and I can't wait to see how everyone in the North reacts to Daenerys showing up with Jon and her dragons. It's going to be awesome, intense, and awkward, and emotional, and everything else under the sun. But this is just a basic outline of what I think will happen in the first episode. I'm sure I'm going to get a few things wrong, but I am pretty sure we will touch base with all of the main storylines just to kinda set the stage for the final season. I wasn't really sure what order I should put any of these scenes in because that's very hard to guess, but this should give you a good idea of what I think will happen during the premiere. I will probably change my mind about some of these things over the next few months once I have some more time to think about it, but for now this is a good place to start. Let me know what you think about my list, and feel free to let me know some of the things that you think is going to happen in the series premiere. Thank you all for watching the video, I really do appreciate that, and I also want to thank all of my Patreon supporters. I can't thank you all enough for your generosity. I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.